So I'm going to be talking about what straight edge is for Professor John's Multicultural Communications class. Alright, so what is it? Subculture that's multicultural. It started in the 1980s, and it moved throughout the world on the backs of punk musicians, right? How did it begin? Okay. Well, punk bands in the 1970s were kind of notorious for, their drug use. Straight edge, before it was called straight edge, it was just like a group of people that they didn't want to be associated with the drug use. They didn't want to be drunk, and they didn't want to be seen like that. They really wanted to live a cleaner lifestyle. So in 1981, the band Minor Threat wrote a song called Straight Edge. And the vocalist Ian MacKaye was just talking about basically how he's got better things to do with his time than, do drugs and not be inside of his head. It was powerful for the scene. And bands after Minor Threat recognized themselves as straight edge if they were, in fact, against drugs, alcohol, and tobacco. And through the 80s then on, the punk music scene carried straight edge throughout the world. And then, as obviously music progresses, so did straight edge into other music genres. But basically the whole thing is the straight edge was carried around the world through musicians, in this subgenre of rock music. These punk bands had something to say, okay? And they were trying to tell their friends to stop doing drugs, okay? And so when you're straight edge, you're telling other people about a better way of life. I guess the theology behind straight edge is that this world, our life here, it can be pretty difficult, and the rest of the world around us is going to try to get us to cloud our vision of life by, being high or drunk all the time, or abusing substances to make yourself feel better about yourself. When really, living a clean and sober life is going to be a happier, better life for you, regardless of what your standing is, Okay, so what does it mean to be straight edge, or to have an edge lifestyle? Well, simply because you don't drink or you don't do drugs or you don't smoke cigarettes doesn't make you straight edge. You being in that lifestyle, claiming straight edge and, trying to make a difference in his friend's life and be an impact, because that's what it's all about, is trying to make a difference, okay? People who are straight edge, pretty much, they don't have a congregational place where they just meet up once a month and hey, we're all straight edge. It's not like that. It's doing something. When you're straight edge, you're constantly promoting straight edge because you believe in what you're doing, I've never met one straight edge person out there who isn't willing to punch you in the face over his beliefs. Straight edge has a lot of focus around violence, so I guess it's the idea that if you're willing to destroy your body with drugs, they're willing to do it for you, sober. So wherever you have a place where there's hardcore music being played, you will most likely have some straight edge kids there. And so that's everywhere. Okay, now through social exclusion, straight edgers got their symbolism, okay? So, these punk bands, right, were to go play a show. It was 21 and up. Sometimes these bands weren't 21 years old. So, one of these bands had the idea of, will you let us play if you put big black X's in the back of our hands? That way the bartenders will know not to serve us, okay? So, that mark is still used today all over concerts and venues all over the place to mark people who are under 21, and it started from a straight edge band. So that symbol of the black X's became their way of showing the world that they were straight edge. So some people would get the X's tattooed on the back of their hands, some really big, bold black X's. And some people would do 3 X's in a row to signify the 3 things that they were standing against. Typically, like I said, tobacco, alcohol, and drug use. Okay, so the reason why I picked this to talk about is because it's kind of unknown. Not a lot of people know about what straight edge is, and when I was younger, I found myself in the straight edge lifestyle. In the 2000s, straight edge bands started going a little more heavy in their music, so that's kind of where I started coming into the scene, was when I recognized straight edge for the first time. When I saw it, it was through really heavy music, and I just love it. When I was straight edge, it kept me pretty clean. All right, like, and I really mean that. Like, I didn't do drugs at all. I never drank. I didn't smoke. None of that stuff. I'm one of the only guys that I know who, through his entire teenage life, didn't touch the stuff. All right, I was like 21 when I stopped being straight edge. So, you know, I don't regret my life as a straight edge kid at all, because I took the lifestyle really seriously, and so do everybody else who's straight edge. It's a really serious thing. That's why it's not like just because you don't drink and just because you don't smoke makes you straight edge. It's a serious stance against it. It's also like a giant brotherhood. All right, so when you have the straight edge tattoos like I do, when you see other kids with those tattoos and you know they're living that lifestyle, you instantly have that person's back. Like, I cannot tell you how many times I've been at a concert and beat up some random person because there was an aggression or something happening to a straight edge, you know, member that I'd seen, you know. When somebody decides that they're gonna be or do something that's like an ideation or some type of a movement or a following, every time you meet somebody who's within the same movement or following, you're gonna have a connection with that person. And it doesn't matter what country you're from or what language you speak, you're gonna identify with that. It's a radical movement, okay? Because it goes against the social norm. You know, you're trying to stick up for, you know, a clean and healthy lifestyle, different than the way people do when they're, you know, going through recovery, like in AA or NA, this Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous. It's still growing. There's still straight edge bands every day popping up, and it's pretty much, like I said, how it goes and grows is just through music. At the end of the day, it really is a positive stance, you know, like you wanted to live a pure, clean lifestyle, and you want your friends to, and you want everybody else to see that and see that it's a good thing.